the one who's reigning over us. He has overcome. Fill the skies with the song. As heaven sings along, glorify the Son. Who is like none compares? There's no one like our God. Great and greatly to be praised. Name above all other names. Powerful and strong to save. Hallelujah, our God reigns, our God reigns. Tell the world of the love He's lavished over us, His daughters and His sons. Made alive, now we're free. Rescued and redeemed, victory is won. Who is like none compares? There's no one like our God. Great and greatly to be praised. Name above all other names. Powerful and strong to save. Hallelujah, our God reigns. Glory in the highest place. King of mercy, God of grace. Together let the earth proclaim. Hallelujah, our God reigns, our God reigns. We lift our eyes up, behold the Son. Lift our voices and sing as one. Hallelujah, our God reigns. We lift our eyes up, behold the Son. Lift our voices and sing as one. Hallelujah, our God reigns, our God reigns. Great and greatly to be praised. Name above all other names. Powerful and strong to save. Hallelujah, our God reigns. Glory in the highest place. King of mercy, God of grace. Together let the earth proclaim. Hallelujah, our God reigns, our God reigns. Hallelujah, our God reigns, our God reigns. I come in simplicity, longing for purity, to worship you in spirit and truth, only you. Lord, strip it all away, till only you remain. I'm coming back to my first love, only you. You're the reason I sing, the reason I sing. Yes, my heart will sing how I love you, and forever I'll sing, forever I'll sing. my heart will sing how I love you. Come with my broken soul to you, the perfect one, to worship you in spirit and truth, only you. Give me a childlike heart, lead me to where you are. I'm coming back to my first love, only you. You're the reason I sing, the reason I sing. Yes, my heart will sing how I love you. And forever I'll sing, forever I'll sing. Yes, my heart will sing how I love you.
Hi friends, I just wanted to share a recent experience that I had joining a small group at Communion Chapel. What's beautiful is we get to meet in the evening time, which doesn't conflict with any work schedule. And also we get to build a sense of community and study the scriptures together and grow in our faith. What I love is that in our small group, we pray, we laugh a lot, and we get to ask the hard questions of things about that challenge our faith and give us hope. And so I get to do that in a really safe environment with my friends, and people get to share their experience with one another, and it's a really beautiful time. And so I encourage you, you may want to do that for yourself and get involved. Thanks.
Good morning. It's Roderick Barnes with Communion Chapel out of San Antonio, Texas. I want to thank you for being here with us as we conclude our series in Ruth, Against Ruthless Society. Let's take a moment to pray before we dive in. God, I'm praying that you would use this time for your own glory and for the good of your people. I admit, dear God, I am a broken vessel, certainly not worthy to be in the position of preaching your word. I thank you for your work of cleansing, of restoring, of redeeming me. Oh God, you are the one who has initiated great love And I am asking, dear God, that you would be pleased to initiate through me strengthening people who right now are feeling torn down. Strengthening people who they have a calling of greatness on them and they really need to hear this message. I am praying, dear God, that you would use a broken vessel for your own glory and for the good of your people. May I have the filling of your Holy Spirit. May I have unction. In Jesus' name, amen. If this were a series on television, we would say something like previously in Ruth, right? And what we have been looking at in Ruth prior to now is this Hesed love, this idea of loyalty and devotion, even if I am not immediately benefited from that. We saw it first in Ruth. Ruth goes back, she goes back to Bethlehem with Naomi. And when she goes back when there's no obvious win for her. And when they get back there, then she goes out to glean. But what do we see when she goes out to glean? When she goes out to glean, and you need to remember this, as she steps out in order to step up and help someone else, it says she chanced, or she happened to come upon the field of Boaz. It wasn't just a happening. As she stepped out to step up and help someone, God did what? He stepped in. He stepped in to make sure that she had what she needed in order to succeed. Well, now we are in chapter 4. Ruth has served, and when Boaz didn't make a move, Naomi got involved, and Naomi concocted a plan. Shall we call it Operation Catch a Man? And eventually Ruth asked Boaz to marry her. Yeah. Are you surprised by that? I really suggest go back and just read the first 3 chapters. This is a short read. You should go back. You should read that. But yeah, she asked Boaz to marry her. And Boaz, he had been wanting to do that. He wanted to step in and help. He wanted to be an aid to this family, but Boaz doesn't chase women. He wanted to help, but he didn't know if she was really interested in as well. But once he knew that, yes, she would marry him, once he knew that her heart was also to help Naomi, he said, I'll take it from here. And that's where we are in chapter 4. Let's dive in. So chapter 4, verse 1. Now, previously, Boaz had said, as the Lord lives, I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to handle this immediately. Now we are in chapter 4, verse 1. Now Boaz went up to the gate and sat down there. And behold, the close relative of whom Boaz had spoken came by. He said, I would like to help you, but there is a kinsman who is a nearer relative than I. Because why? Ruth had said, you're a near kinsman. Why don't you do the duty of a near kinsman? Why don't you be a kinsman redeemer? And he said, I'd like to, but there's actually someone nearer than I, and he's not willing to be opportunistic and circumvent what's doing the right thing. So Boaz said, come aside, friend, because this near kinsman, right? The close relative has come by. He says, sit down here. So he came aside and sat down, and he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, sit down here. So they sat down. What we want to notice is that the writer, the author, is giving us an indicator of what Boaz intends to do. How does he do that? The meaning of the man at the gate. Let's take a moment to look at that. When he went to the gate, he went to a structure that you would use to get into the city. Inside this gate, where there would have been a tower, there would have been an entranceway. There also inside, there would have been chambers or rooms where people would have met. Outside the gate is a marketplace where people would meet to buy and sell. Inside, you have your meeting rooms. This is a depiction of what the gate may have looked like. Watchtower here at the top, meeting rooms here at the side, large doors on hinges. But what does it mean to go to the gate? Well, the gate is the civic forum of the city. 2 Samuel 19:8, Jeremiah 38:7, that's where matters are handled by leadership. They're handled at the gate. In Joshua 24, if you have an issue with someone who is accused of manslaughter, it was not intentional, but nevertheless someone has died, you handle that matter at the gate. If you have a criminal case, then you would handle that matter at the gate. All kinds of conversations, whether you're talking with your foes, your family, or your friends, they're taking place at the gate. In Lamentations, it says that if the elders stop meeting at the gate, it's a tragic thing. We find out there that for elders to stop meeting at the gate is an indicator that really the civic functions of the city have begun to cease. You go to the gate in order to do business. And so what we are seeing is that Boaz in this scene is primarily, he's a businessman. He went to the gate because he came to do business. Had he wanted to just banter, he could have gone anywhere. But in going to the gate, he really came in order to settle a matter. Well, we notice that he says, come aside, friend, and before that, the behold. The behold is interesting because it indicates not that Boaz is surprised, but it's an indication to you, the reader. God has written this to help you, to admonish you. In what way? He's showing you that the pattern is happening again. Remember Ruth, she did what? She stepped out. Why did she step out? In order that she might step up to help someone. She stepped out in order to serve. She stepped out living sacrificially in order to help somebody. And when she stepped out with the intention not of just helping herself, but more importantly of helping Naomi, when she stepped out in order to step up, what happened? God stepped in. He sovereignly directed her affairs so that she came to the field of Boaz. It's happening again. The pattern is being repeated. See, Boaz, he went up to the gate. And remember, all of this is on the same day that Ruth came out at night and uncovered his feet. This is all happening on the same day. And so it's not like he could have sent out a memo. He couldn't call together a Zoom meeting and get together everybody. He steps out. Many of us get paralyzed in analysis. Sometimes we don't even move because we can't imagine. I don't know how all of this is going to work out. I don't know how all of this is going to fit together. And in that, we rationalize not doing missions. We rationalize not reaching out. We rationalize not helping people. If I am listening to what God is saying here, he is wanting me to be like Abraham. He is wanting you to be like Ruth. He is wanting you to be like Boaz. What you need to do is you need to decide in your heart that what you're going to do is honor God. That's the most important thing. Honor God. I need to say, hey, I am going to step out to honor God. And I want to plan the work and work the plan as much as I can, but I don't know everything. More important than anything is the faith that says I'm going to step out. I'm going to take steps. I'm acknowledging God. Acknowledge him in all your ways. He's going to direct your steps. And now we see when Boaz steps out, there's the reason for the behold. He steps out. Why? In order to step up and help Naomi and Ruth. And what happens next? What? What happens? That's right. God steps in. He sovereignly arranges things so that what's needed to succeed is there. You see that? Ruth stepped out in order to step up, and God stepped in order to provide what she needed to succeed. Boaz steps out in order that he might step up, and God steps in, sovereignly arranging affairs so that he will have what he needs to succeed. Behold, we need to have a conversation with this close relative. Here he is. Here he is. Here he is. You don't know how you're going to help some of these people who need help right now during this COVID-19. You don't know how you're going to help some of your employees. You don't know how you're going to help some of the communities. But the most important thing is your willingness to step out. To step out in order to step up, in order to walk like Jesus, to live sacrificially, to set aside your own interests. That's what he did. And when you believers step out, right? Come on. Next, verse 3. Then he said to the close relative, Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab, sold the piece of land which belonged to our brother Elimelech. When we see sold here, we need to keep in mind that in the underlying Hebrew, the verb is in the perfect. And where it could indicate an action that has already taken place, when we look at it, in light of verse 5, you must also buy it. And in verse 9, and Boaz said to all the people, to the elders and all the people, you are witnesses this day that I have bought. Then we go back and we understand that the sold was her determined intention. It was an indicator that this is as good as done as far as she is concerned. Right? And so it's not to indicate that it's already in the hands of someone else, because had it been, Boaz would have bought it from them. But right now, it is her determination to sell it. It's as good as done. She's already made up her mind. She is impoverished. It's too late for her to have the land worked in order that she might receive a profit from the produce. And right now, she is really needing the money. And so Boaz, he says to the close relative, hey, Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab, sold the piece of land, or her determined intention is to sell the piece of land which belonged to our brother. And we need not understand brother as being literally he was the brother of this nearest kinsman and Boaz, but that he was their relative. And I thought to inform you, or literally to uncover the ear, saying, buy it back in the presence of the inhabitants and the elders of the people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you will not redeem it, then tell me that I may know. Tell me that I may be aware that you do not intend to redeem it. For there is no one but you to redeem it, and I am next after you. And he said, I will redeem it. There's a few things that we want to notice here. A few things that we want to see in this passage where Boaz is presenting this business deal. Let's look at the business deal for just a moment. The ruthless business deal. Well, you have Elimelech and you have Naomi. And Elimelech and Naomi, husband and wife, they had land. It was back in Bethlehem. And now Elimelech is dead. And I'm trying to indicate that, perhaps poorly, with my emoji, right? No disrespect intended toward Elimelech, just trying to indicate he's passed on. Naomi, she's elderly. She is still alive. She's gone back. And now she is impoverished and she needs money. She needs a way to make it. Not only that, but she would very much like, because this is important in Jewish culture, she would very much like to preserve the name of Elimelech. If your name is lost in many ways, that's like a type of death in their culture. It's not that you cease to exist, but the inheritance that would have gone to your family is no longer there for your family, and your name is no longer among the clan. And in that sense, you have died. And she is trying to prevent that type of death. Well, Boaz, he steps in, says, I'm willing to help. That's what he told Ruth. I'm willing to help. But, yes, we have the nearest kinsman. Now, in the text, he is called Poloni Almoni, which literally means so-and-so. It's a name that you give in order to indicate that you're keeping the person anonymous. Why would you do that? In a book where everybody's name is given, why would you call him Poloni Almoni? In a book where they're so careful about measures and weights and times and seasons, why suddenly be so intentionally nondescript? It's interesting. Well, in the ruthless business deal, he says, hey, if you're going to buy it, if you're going to step in to redeem it, I would like to do it. But actually, between me and them, between me and Naomi, you are actually a nearer kinsman than I am. We're not looking strictly at Deuteronomy 25, 5 through 10, because that really had to do with an immediate brother. But we're looking at the idea of levirate marriage as it would have been used to protect the name in the clan, as it would have been used to help take care of a widow, right? Well, in the Ruthless transaction, Poloni Almoni, he buys the property from Naomi and he increases his own inheritance, right? Because honestly, Naomi is beyond the years of childbearing. So there is not going to be anyone else to inherit the property. And eventually he goes beyond buying this property where she gets some money, and he eventually reaches break even to get a profit from the produce. Naomi's immediate need is met. Her future still remains uncertain. There is no child to help her in her old age, and Elimelech's name is lost. It's a good deal for Poloni Almoni, for Uncle so-and-so. It's a good deal for he whose name we have chosen to leave out of the story. It's a good deal for him. For Naomi, not so much. Not so much. That's the ruthless business deal. That's the deal when you leave Ruth out. Let's go back. Well, earlier, he said, I will redeem it, right? Boaz said, I would like to do this. I need you to make a decision. He's not being rude, but the family is in need of help. They're in need of peril. Maybe you didn't know. I personally find it hard to believe that insofar as we know that Ruth is now famous in this town. She is also Chayil. She is a person of valor. She is a person of courage. She is a person that is well known and virtuous. I find it hard to believe he didn't know. I wonder if it is not, in a sense, him calling this man out. Hey, I thought to let you know, since obviously you didn't. I don't know how you could not have known that our family was in this situation. And I would like to help, but actually you are first in line. So if you're going to do it, man, do it. Step up and lead, or else what? Get out of the way. Well, he said, okay, I'll do it. I will redeem it. And then he brings out the Ruth clause. Verse 5, then Boaz said, on the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you must also buy it from Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance. And the close relative said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I ruin my own inheritance. You redeem my right of redemption for yourself, for I cannot redeem it. Now, this was the custom in former times in Israel concerning redeeming and exchanging to confirm anything. One man took off his sandal and gave it to the other. And this was a confirmation in Israel. Let's look at that for just a moment. What just happened? Now he's saying, I can't do it because if I do it, I'm going to ruin my own inheritance. Well, Elimelech and Naomi, by way of review. Boaz, I'm willing to help, but honestly, as much as I would like to help, I'm not willing to compromise. I'm not willing to circumvent the established and the correct way of doing things for my own benefit. We have a nearest kinsman, Poloni Almoni. Well, Boaz says, yep, sounds good, but I want to point out, there were two children, Mahlon and Chilion, and Ruth, the Moabitess, the wife of the dead. When you buy this, in order for you to do this according to the will of God, in the spirit of what is indicated in Deuteronomy 25, 5 through 10, then you're buying it from Ruth, the Moabitess, to what end? In order that you would raise up a child. The child would be considered the child of Mahlon. Y'all see that? If you're going to do this, I just need you to be aware of that. Now we have an issue. Where before Poloni Almoni had something to gain from it, now if he does this, he doesn't see a win-win. You say, well, what's the problem? Well, if he purchases this property, the property would go to the child. to the progeny. The property once purchased, when the child gets old enough, the child would inherit the property. So he's losing not just the money that he used to purchase the property, which he would give to Naomi. She's going to get the money, but in the end, she's also keeping the property in her family, right? You see that? And then the son that was born would not only get the property, but would get some of what formerly would have only gone to the heirs of Almoni. And so whatever he had is going to be divided up among these other children, including this new child. Yeah. So, the only reason you do this at this point, the only reason why you go forward, because you're not going to get the land. The only reason you're going to do this is because you're not going to get the money. In fact, eventually, the profit from the produce is not going to you. There's not a break even in that sense. The only reason you do this is because there is a chesed love there to help this family. And honestly, he doesn't have it. See, in the previous case, what we see is that when he thought there was something to gain, he was willing to do it. But now when he realizes there's nothing to gain, but there is something to give, he's not willing to do it. Almoni, he wanted the land, but not the lady. He wanted the land, but not the lady, or the opportunity to show a chesed love to this family in need. There's no win-win for him in this. You and I need to get out of the win-win mentality. We need to think one win. We need to think in the way that Jesus told us to think, where I am loving so much that I am setting aside my own interests in order to promote the well-being of others. There's no win for him in it. He wants the land, not the lady. But Boaz, come on. He wants the lady, not the land. He wants the opportunity in a missional marriage to show a chesed love to this family. He would get the same deal. If he buys this property and the money goes to Naomi, he's not going to get it back, because the goal is to raise up a child, and Elimelech's name is saved in the clan, because the child would be considered the descendant of Elimelech. Specifically, it would be considered the child of Mahlon, and the child would get the property, and Boaz is good with that. He's good with that. That's fine with him. Why? Because he has a chesed love for this family. It's because he would really rather have the lady than the land. He's not really wanting the land. He wants the opportunity to have this virtuous woman in his life. He who finds a good wife. Man, don't get me started. So he said, you're going to have to buy it from Ruth the Moabitess. And the reason why you would do that is to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance, where eventually the child born out of that union would inherit it. And he says, I don't want to do that. He says, you redeem it for yourself. And now we realize why his name is Almoni, or Uncle So-and-so. It's not that he did anything wrong, but compared to Boaz, right, he certainly did not do what Boaz did, who went above and beyond to bless others. He went above and beyond to bless others. You and I are called to do more than go for the win-win. What God is wanting us to do is to go Boaz. And that means we endeavor to bless, to go above and beyond, not just with our family and our friends, but even with our enemies. Jesus said, if they ask you to go 1 mile, check it out, you go 2. If they ask for your cloak, you give them your tunic. And Boaz, before this would be articulated, we see him conducting himself as the kind of hero that society so desperately needs. We see him carrying himself in such a way that if you look, you can see Christ. Christ is our Goel. He is the one who steps in to redeem us. And his real interest is in redeeming and having the relationship with us. That's what he wanted. In order to be a Goel, a few things have to be true. First of all, you have to be a blood relative. You have to have the purchase price of redemption. You have to be willing to step in and be in that marriage relationship. And he's willing to do that. Christ is willing to do that for us in order to bless us. Well, now this was the custom, verse 7, in Israel concerning redeeming and exchanging. To confirm anything, one man took off his sandal and gave it to the other man. And this was a confirmation in Israel. So he would take off his sandal. I don't have a sandal on. I have on a boot. And I would imagine he would spray it off, but that's my modern thinking because, I mean, it's my stinky foot that's been in the shoe. But, I mean, it's only a way of indicating that we're confirming the deal. He'd take off the sandal and he gave it to the other man. And so what do we see? That verse 7 was an explanation for a reader who is no longer in this time. Whenever this was written, it's later when this took place. It's late enough that culturally things have changed, such that the author had to explain that in chapter 1, this is the time when judges ruled, a time of moral relativism. And here before in verse 7, we're explaining what's happening to verse 8. Therefore, the close relative said to Boaz, buy it for yourself. So he took off his sandal. If we didn't have that, like, why is he taking off his sandal? Obviously, by the time this is written, that custom is no longer still taking place. And Boaz said to the elders and all the people, you are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Kilion's and Mahlon's from the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the widow of Mahlon, now we actually know who she was married to explicitly, I have acquired as my wife. And his reason for doing it, he was stepping up to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance. It's not about what I can get. It's about how to help this family. That the name of the dead may not be cut off from among his brethren and from his position at the gate. You are witnesses this day. And all the people who were at the gate, because they're gathered in this gate area and they were probably in one of those side meeting rooms, said, we are witnesses. The Lord make this woman who is coming to your house like Rachel and Leah, the two who built the house of Israel, and may you prosper in Ephrathah and be famous in Bethlehem. And he will be. Where the other man was not worth mentioning. Why is he Poloni Almoni? Because his name is not worth mentioning. Doesn't need to be remembered. It doesn't say that he did anything wrong, but he certainly didn't do the right thing by this family. They say, may your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah. Tamar was another foreigner. She was another foreigner who married into this family of Hebrews and bore him a son. And they're saying, may Ruth be like that to you because of the offspring which the Lord will give you from this young woman. Verse 13, so Boaz took Ruth and she became his wife. And when he went into her, look what happened. The Lord gave her conception and she bore a son. You got to see this. You got to see that he stepped out in order that he could step up and help this family. And a woman who all this time had not had a child, God stepped in. He intervened, causing her. He gave her conception and she bore a son. You see that? You need to see that. Why? Because you and I are being called upon. To whom much is given, much is required. God has blessed us greatly. His favor is on us. His forgiveness is on us. And in this time of COVID-19, where people are very much afraid, he is needing us to step up. He's needing us to step up and help others. Amen. And what he is telling us is that when we step out of our comfort zone with the intention of stepping up to help others, that he is going to step in to make sure we have what we need to succeed. You hear that? Yeah, you've got some things in mind. And it's time that they come off the drawing board. It's time that they stop being just thoughts. Yeah, I know you don't have everything worked out. But if you've learned anything as you read this, as you reflect on this, if you've learned anything, you don't have to have everything worked out. In fact, if you had everything worked out, then you would be walking by facts. You would be walking by figures, calculations, and spreadsheets, equations. It would be formulaic. We're going to walk by faith, right? The most important thing is to make up in your mind to honor God. You plan your work and you work your plan. But as you step out to step up and help others, God is going to step in to make sure you have. He's going to make sure what you have, what you need to succeed. Thank you for being here with us this morning. Be encouraged. God has not changed. The Bible says Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And he is continuing to do his work for people who step out and step up. God, I thank you for this time. I pray that you are using this word to encourage your people. During this COVID-19 time, we need more Ruths. We need more Boaz. We need more people like Ruth who will step out and step up to help others. Oh God, I'm praying, be at work in our midst so that we are not a ruthless society.
When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. Though Satan should buffet, though trials should come, let this blessed assurance control, that Christ has regarded my helpless estate and hath shed his own blood for my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. My sin, oh the bliss of this glorious thought. My sin, not in part, but the whole, is nailed to the cross, and I bear it
my soul.